We have an amazing guest on here who's going to tell you how he went from zero to hero, going from zero to absolutely crushing in the loan game early in his career, while also coaching. And he has extensive background in coaching, and just, gosh, he was able to propel what he knows, his knowledge, his expertise, and take it in the loan game and just start scaling. So this is an exciting deal for you all to know, hey, listen, you can come in the game, start crushing deals if you just know the concepts, you just know what to do, and you just do them. So, all right, you all know the drill, baby. Get on geniusloanofficer.com and schedule your exponentially, powerfully, amazing opportunity for growth this year. We have the exciting event going on March 3rd and 4th in Breckenridge, Colorado. It is going to be a small group mastermind that is working on your business, that is very experiential, right? We're going to have some great experiences there while working directly on your business, having high-level stuff that you've never, ever heard of. The sales acumen that you will take out of that will be something that you've never heard of, nobody else in the market is doing, and you will have an unfair advantage. So if you want that seat, you better act right now and get going, okay? So hit your call, schedule that call today. And I tell you what I'll do is I will give a 25% off discount for that if you act within the first 5 days of this release. So this will be releasing on a Thursday, and on the upcoming, we'll put it Tuesday by 5 p.m. Eastern. If you schedule that call and you end up going to that, you will get a 25% off discount for the first 2 people, okay? Only 2. So you'll want to get in there, and you may want to go ahead and act as soon as you get it. So great stuff. I have really it's just a truly a pleasure to be introducing the guest we have on here, because this gentleman, you'll find to be very knowledgeable, but even more so, just a great guy. He was able to coach loan officers for years, then take his own business and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and be in the loan space. And he was able to grow quickly while also coaching loan officers to do the same thing. So this is exciting. You want to tune in for some golden platinum nuggets today to exponentially grow your business in 2022. So I have the pleasure of introducing Matt Doyle to the show. Matt, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. I will tell you one thing. If I ever need a hype man, I am calling you immediately. Like, my head can only get so big after that introduction. So thank you.
It's so true. I tell you what, you're doing really big things. And as we'll get into, you did go into loan game. You were coaching people and say, hey, this is how you do it. This is what you do. This is what you do. And a lot of people think, well, they're coaching, they can't do it. And you're like, no, I can do it. You were able to learn so much, and then you just took it right out, just tried it right out of the playbook. You started running with it. You started being successful. And I want to hear that transformation. I want to hear, like, when you got out in the field, maybe some things were the same as what you knew, and then maybe some things that were a little bit different. Like, okay, the playbook was just slightly different. Love to hear all that goodness. So before we do that, just wanted chance for you to introduce yourself and kind of tell us about Matt Doyle.
Yeah, so thank you. Like Adam mentioned, my name is Matt Doyle. I am an originator. Been doing this for, when you combine coaching and origination, probably about 7 years now. What I learned from the origination side was what you need to be doing each day in order to grow your business. And it's not rocket science. We've all heard we need to make phone calls. We need to follow up. 10 touches before you get a deal. Follow up is key. There's nothing new under the sun there. But what I like about Genius Loan Officer, as well as some of the other stuff that I'm seeing a lot of these successful loan officers doing right now, is they're taking the old tactics, leveraging the technology that is current in today's market, and really, really expediting that growth numbers. You know, you're not just making a phone call every Monday for 10 weeks in a row to get your 10 touches. That's old school. So what you guys are doing is just recreating that wheel, helping loan officers to achieve and exceed their goals faster. And, you know, that's what everybody's out after.
Yeah, absolutely right. I love that, what you're saying. There's, gosh, you know it. There's out there, it's like, oh, that's all you got to do. Just pound the phone, just pound the phones. And we don't believe in beating people over the heads with our, especially our loan officers we're coaching, going, hey, just call. That's all you do. And it's like, well, yeah, there's a certain amount of calls you need to make, but there's also, like you said, leveraging technology. And I think the biggest thing is leveraging your skill set. And I think that what's lacking in one of the reasons I came in this space is simply the coaching space is, I really love sales, like to its really core. I'm not talking about, the sales that other people know, like just beat people over the head and try to close and convince, but there's this line. So if anybody knows, I got to draw on a diagonal line, and there's result, right? There's result, and then time, and time's on the one side and results on the other side, and skill set's what intersects it.
Yeah.
So if you have more skill, then guess what? The amount of touches and may go way down, right? And then also then you leverage, then it's like impression, and then you got less time to take to get to that exponential growth. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's been awesome. So like you mentioned, I was doing coaching for a little bit beforehand, jumped in origination. My first year, I think I did over 95 transactions. And that was purchase driven. I think it was about 85% purchase.
Nice.
So and I didn't have the repeat clients my first year.
Yep.
So even the 15% of refinances, it's not like I'm calling up somebody that closed 3 years ago.
Yep.
I'm still going out and getting that business.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that I found to be necessary, I should say, necessary, but also kind of fun, is just going about it and improving your at bat swings. Yeah. So learning what you need to say, learning the scripting, being confident in your loan options in your program. Yeah. And then knowing how to have that communication with somebody back and forth, like you and I are doing now. A lot of this is just communication. So everything you guys are teaching, I guess we're teaching at Genius Loan Officer, is all about what's required to really excel at a high level for what you want to achieve. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. Well, it's not rocket science, but I think that a lot of people take it for granted. I think you maybe at this point take it for granted how the skill set is moving. And I think there's that whole, that whole thing we all do is we think once we know something, right? Like once we know something, everybody knows it. And, but they don't. And you're laying on these skill sets over time. And now it's becoming natural, and it's down in the unconscious brain that we're always trying to shove it in. I think that skill set's getting better and better, and that line is intersecting more and more. So yeah, I love that. So let me, so you're okay. So let's go back to your coaching loan officers for years before you started originating. And so you're coaching solely before you originated for 5 years. Was it about 5 years?
Just about 5 years. Yeah.
5 years. So what'd you learn when you were coaching loan officers? One about them, and what's successful, and then also about yourself.
So to answer that question, first off, what I learned about the other individuals is 95% aren't going to do what you tell them to do. So it could be as simple as, hey, go fill up this cup of water 100%. People are going to say, oh yeah, I'll fill out that cup of water in 5 minutes. Let me go finish this first. Let me do this. And they never fill up that cup of water. Then you've got some that are like, you know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to go refill my cup of water. They do it 30%. Yeah. And you find very rarely that the people that when you say, hey, go do X, that they do all of X. And they might get distracted. They might get, ADD, because everybody in sales is ADD. We're always thinking about something else that's going on. But when you can turn off those distractions and really focus on the task at hand, that's the people that really excel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed about in me is at that time when I was coaching, I was sitting there, I was like, it cannot be that difficult. If I say to go refill a cup of water to 100%, it can't be that difficult to sit there. I jumped in the industry. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 1,000,001 things to do. I can't refill this cup of water at 100%. I've got to go do X or go Y or go Z or do something. And I struggled with that for the first couple of months in the industry. It wasn't until I took a step back and really was like, I am my own worst enemy from when I was coaching to where I'm originating. I jump on those coaching. If I was to jump on a coaching call now as a student, I'd have all the same excuses that my students used to have with me.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I was going to fill up that cup of water, but I slept in this morning and I really had to go do X, or I couldn't do it because I told somebody I would do Y. But it's really about just executing at a high level, and don't let the excuses become excuses. If I know I have to go do something tomorrow morning, we'll set the alarm 10 minutes earlier. Still have time to refill that glass of water. That's what I've learned about myself.
I love it. That's great perspective. And I love you're able to take your coaching background and go, oh gosh, because I think that's such a great thing, right? It's like, I have, I've created different strategies for people to be able to at a different angle. And one of those questions is like, my best self, what would my best self say? And all those different types of way you're trying to, implement and saying that differently. But it's exactly what you said, because you're looking at yourself from a high level of a coach and going, oh, I am literally doing that same thing. And now I'm going to coach myself through it. Now I got a course correct. And that's great awareness. And then you're able to start correcting that, because if you didn't, right, you probably wouldn't have the success you've been having. And it seems to me now, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me you have a pretty daggone good balance. I mean, you got a beautiful new fiance, right?
I do. Thank you.
Yeah. So you had to do some hard selling in that one, right? So you had to have time, to set aside, and so you had to probably have some balance. If you didn't have any balance and you were working 80 hours a week and trying to sling loans and like, hey, what's up? Okay, I got to go work. Probably don't have a fiance. So you done a really effective job of growing, coaching, and having a personal life. So kudos to you. And you may rehash some of the things you said, but I'd love to hear how you're able to do that in a day and night, and how you're able to shut it off, how you're able to maybe have conversations that are correct. That's being empowering and condensing your time in a proper fashion.
Yeah. So as far as the time management with my fiance, and this is one of the blessings that I learned from doing the coaching for so many years, is when it comes to time management, there's probably 90% that I can control, 10% I cannot. I cannot stop it when somebody calls me at 7:30 at night on a Sunday and they're like, hey, Matt, I really need to submit this offer. I understand I've never spoken to you. I've been meaning to call you. You had no idea I existed, but this has to be submitted by 9 o'clock tonight. You're like, so that's part of that 10% you can't control. But if you have that conversation with your significant other, like I have with my fiance, and I can say, Kat, I've got either A, I've got to do this, or hey, are you okay if I go do this?
Yeah.
Having that understanding is a big factor in that, in my opinion. But the 90% I can control, it kind of goes back to the time where you're refilling your water, whatever you're putting in that glass. So if I'm trying to focus on that, I know, hey, don't check Facebook around 10 a.m. Yeah. I understand you want to understand what happened over the weekend with all your friends. It is not relevant. That information will be there tonight at 9 o'clock at night when you're laying in bed. So it's really focusing on what you need to get done, and kind of like what you said, so your future self can thank you. Yeah. The work we do today and you know this just as well as I do, if not better, the work we do today is what we see the fruits of the labor from in 2 or 3 months. So if in 3 months from now, I want to be celebrating my best month ever, I've got to do that work right now. I can't wait for 2.5 months from now and be like, man, this sucks. Why am I not doing better? So it's really just focusing on those kind of things. And that's what helps keeps everybody happy.
Yeah, it's have you heard of the Marshmallow Experiment?
No, I haven't.
So I love that experiment, and it's 1972. They had a study with children, and they would give them one marshmallow, or they would say, hey, you know, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you have to wait, but you get 2 marshmallows.
Okay.
And so they trained them, and ones that would delay that gratification and get the 2 marshmallows. I do not remember the stats all, obviously, off the top of my head. However, the suicide rate was down. Their income was way higher. Like, I'm talking about, you know, over 100% higher.
Wow.
There's all these metrics, every single metric, and there's several of them. We went from happiness all the way to income was exponentially greater in those ones that delayed the gratification. And I think it's just such a, and so they followed them for years, right? Followed this experiment for years. And it's just such a powerful thing. And I was actually even talking about my daughter, which is 6 years old, to my ex-wife. And I said, you know, hey, you know, I actually told her that thing. And because I was talking about taking her out, and this weekend she wanted to go out and play in the snow, and it was really cold. And, you know, I was like, listen, it's 9 a.m. right now. It's like negative 42 degrees outside. And we'll be able to stay out there for like 8 minutes, okay? Because you're going to be cold. You're going to want to come in. Or we can wait until noon when it's 30 something degrees, and it's not going to be that bad. We can stay out probably for an hour and a half, or way longer. So I kept reiterating that. And guess what? She was able to stay out long. We were able to have that fun. And I was talking to Megan. I said, listen, you may consider continue to do this with her on different things, just every little thing you can do is having some kind of bigger reward, better reward for delayed gratification, because it will absolutely help her and her whole mindset for later in life. Because you're hitting the nail on the head, Matt, because you're delaying that gratification. Okay, I got to do this stuff now. I'm not going to get those little endorphins I think I need for Facebook and all that, because that's my future self's going to be like, holy crap, I only got 2 loans in the pipeline, and I don't know if I got enough money. Or, hey, my gosh, I got 10, I got 15, I got 20 loans in the pipeline. I'm doing great. I'm making more money because I didn't allow myself to just get off track on the stuff that really didn't matter. And I love that. So you're absolutely living out the marshmallow effect right now. So love it.
Man, just call me the Marshmallow Man.
Marshmallow, yeah. I don't know if you've seen the new Ghostbusters. It's got the little marshmallow man.
I didn't know. I haven't seen it yet. I need to go see that now.
Yeah, well, not to ruin the whole thing, but they had little ones. They were miniature ones, and my daughter loved it. She cracked up so bad. So,
oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, you can get the Marshmallow Man, but yeah. So beyond that, so then you started in the loan game. You started doing really well. What's been the progression as far as, you know, kind of what you learned, and maybe again, like from your coaching to transferring it into real life, into real actionable stuff where you're behind the scenes and you're the one actually doing it. What did you learn, and maybe what was slightly different, maybe you think, or your perspective maybe changed a little bit when you started originating? Is there anything?
Yeah, the main thing I can think of. So previously when I was coaching, it was go out and talk to every real estate agent you can. More contacts solves all problems. More leads solve all problems. Go talk to 1 million real estate agents every single week. And I implemented that when I first started originating, and I quickly realized that is not the key to a successful business or a happy life. So one thing I did was I actually sat down, and every real estate agent that I've been calling on for the last 2 or 3 months, as well as any agent that had referred me a business, referred me a deal, or we closed a transaction. I looked at them. I was like, am I happy working with this person?
Mm.
So I took a very serious look at my business. And this is the thing I would have never talked to somebody when I was coaching. But I looked at it, I was like, that person only calls me on Saturday morning, Saturday or Sunday morning. They are very, this has to be done now,
Yeah.
does not respect my time, does not care what I'm doing, views me as a just,
right?
Yeah, like no respect there. And I started looking at it, I was like, I've worked with this person. We've gotten 15 leads. We've closed 1 deal. And out of those 15 buyers, none of them were really pleasant to work with.
Mm.
They were rude. They were inconsiderate. They were rude to me or my team. And I sat down I sat down by myself at first and looked at this, and I was like, I got to trim some of these people out.
Yeah.
And then since then, I've built a team, and I'm working with my team, and I'm like, guys, we're going to implement a 3-strike policy. If a real estate agent that I'm working with is rude to you, cusses you out, tells you you are not worth it, you are doing something dumb, let me know. It doesn't matter if we're doing 1 deal together or 20 deals together. 3 strikes are out. And it's very tough, but it's also very leveling, because if I know, in the back of your head, the agents that you don't like working with,
Yeah.
where you get a phone call from them, you're like, I'll let that one go to voicemail. But you have those relationships, and what's leveling about that is, if I know those deals are eventually going to go away, it's going to make me not get comfortable today in saying, I don't need to make these phone calls.
Yeah.
I've gotten 3 leads or 3 deals or whatever it is from over the weekend. I need to prospect. I need to grow my business. I need to find people I like working with. And it's kind of that old saying, whereas if you hang with dogs, you get fleas, but if you hang with eagles, you soar. Just incorporate that into business, into life, and you'll be much happier.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I fired a agent giving me about 4 deals a month. I was like, no.
I remember that. I remember
did.
that.
I think people don't think that's true or whatever. It's this thing I'm saying that for coaching. Like, I was talking to my group, and I said, and also I think the thing that you're saying, and you didn't really, you were saying it, but like, I want to illustrate a point too, to but also hopefully the listeners know, is that.
Yeah.
It's not the chicken or egg thing here, because you think, okay, well, once Matt started doing really well, he could do that. It's Matt is doing really well because he is doing that. Yeah. And just like, like Adam, you're doing 20 deals a month, or 20 to 30 deals a month every month. Then you can lose 4 because you're doing 20 to 30. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'm doing that simply because I am shutting off those. And I'm like, no, because that's an energy bleed. That's then you're not wanting to pick up the phone. And, that's the thing I think originators have, is because they start growing like you did. Like you're saying, oh man, I'm calling everybody. And you start having these people come in your world that are just not really that good of people. I mean, they're just not really good, solid people. They shouldn't even be a real estate agent. They're doing a deal here and there. And the reason they're not doing more deals is because they're just not a real great human being at this point. Like, they need to work on themselves, and we're putting on our world. So then it's like, oh gosh, I don't want to call more real estate agents. And then when you're calling, then you're kind of pulling back. So like, good relationships out there, you could be speaking to them very powerfully and very joyfully, but now you're pulling all your punches, right? You're going, well, hey, because you're like, oh gosh, I'm ready to get my head bit off. I'm ready for me not to like you. And then you hear all these things. Well, all real estate agents are blah. And it's like, that's not true. There's a great real estate agents, great people out there that are joyful to be around, that do great business. And then another thing came up here recently was we have these playbooks that, I sit down in my office here at 6 a.m. pounding out material that's like unlike anybody else's doing out there. So our loan officers can hand these out and have conversations, and have a reason to call and have deep connecting conversations. And so one of our loan officers has been doing really well. He's running his team, and he had all these, and he was doing a really good job with them. He's meeting, handing out. And I said, what's your follow-up with this? What's your follow through with these? And he says, it's probably not the best. And I said, I want you to make sure every single person that you, in the last 2 months, that you have given these to, I want you to call through them. I want you to have conversations. And so he calls me and he says, it was like a week later, he said, I don't know if your intention was this, but I went to call these real estate agents, and some of them I was just picking up the phone like, man, hey, John, hey, Mary, hey, Joe. Oh my God. And he said, then there's some, he's like, I don't want to call them. I don't want to call that person.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know if your intention was to know, like, those are not people I really want to work with or not, but it definitely did the trick. So I'm not going to be giving those. I'm not going to be giving those to them the next time. I'm not going to be, because it's not a relationship I really want. I was like, that was one of the main points I wanted you to get, because I want you to know, okay, I'm not just handing this out. I'm in this one conversation. Do I want to continue to have conversations? This is somebody I want to align myself with, that I joyously call. Like, there's real estate agents you can call every week, and just because you're having good conversations about growth, about good stuff, not, hey, just give me a deal. It's about good stuff. It's about mutual collaboration. Hey, listen, I just found this out with whatever. Maybe you can call your client and your past clients, because like the FHA's changed this or this, when we're trying to collaborate to win. Or those conversations where like, oh my God, I did not want to call Mary because but she does answer. I hope she doesn't answer. Like,
but of course she answers. Nobody else is calling her. Of course she's going to answer your call.
So so it's like such a great point, Matt. Such a great point. I love that you made that, because out there, I want everybody to get that. Like, just, gosh, there's such people they're amazing, that do good business, that you're going to want to have a conversation with. So shed the ones you don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, so you were talking about your numbers after you fired that 4 deals a month. When I was doing it, I think I was floating in between about 8 to 11, running around that ballpark. And I was like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
I had 2 closing with this agent the next month. And then other than like an update call for those, did not reach out to this agent. And I closed, I think 8 that second month. Month number 3, I was at 11, and I haven't been below 11 since.
Nice. So
you take a small step backwards and then just grow forward. You have so much more energy and so much more happiness. And also, one thing I noticed was I wasn't waking up on Monday morning dreading the day. Like, I wasn't being like, oh, crud, what is this agent going to bug me about? What's going on? Just none of it. It was total bliss. So I highly suggest for anybody that is feeling drained, take a step back and figure out what's draining about it.
Yeah. And I love that, where you also went inside that tracker too. And you're going, okay,
yeah,
they've got 15, they've sent me 15 people, only 1 closed. It's like, let's have a conversation too. It's like, so, I've had those where, to be clear out there, if you're trying to grow your business, you may come across somebody that they're going to test you for a little bit, kind of sending you ones that's like, let me kind of see how their communication is. And they have full right to, and I would, I expect them to a little bit. But if you're seeing that and you're not trending that and going, oh my gosh, like, okay, I've got 15 here and 1 is closable deal. A, is that all they have? And that's what they're sending me. And we need to have a conversation about where they're fishing from. Or B, they're just sending me the stuff that's not good, and they're sending it to somebody else. And each one of those has to have a conversation. Like, even if you think they're a pretty good person and you like them, even if you like them, they're a good person, you have a conversation with them, they're nice, you enjoy them. If one of those 2 things, it's going to be one of 2 things. Like, they're fishing from the wrong pond, or they're just sending you the crap, and we need to have a conversation about either one. Like,
yeah,
where are we fishing from? Or, oh, you're sending your good stuff over there. Okay, cool. Like what is the opportunity is for us to be getting the good stuff too? If not, if it's, well, I have that person and it's set. It's like, well, that's cool. I respect that. And I'm going to respectfully bow out. I'm not going to just subject myself to running credit pulls
Yeah.
that I'm going to work for 2 years to try to get their credit up. And because you don't want to bother your other lender with those, that's not how it works. That's not, so value yourself and put up those boundaries is what I would say.
Yeah. Look in the mirror and say, are you happy with the job you're currently doing?
Yeah.
That's the first bit of advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, this is awesome. I mean, what else you got? What other questions? I'm enjoying
I know we're winding down here, but I tell you just where's Matt trying to go to, and just so everybody knows, Matt's a part of our community to help others grow. So if you like what I say and you like what Matt says, hey, you're in the right. And then you got to put up a Dallas Hardcastle. But no, it's a crew over there, genius loan officer. The reason Matt's involved in this and right here is Matt's on this program is because I respect what Matt does. I respect that Matt was able to take that. Like I've seen Matt coach a lot, and Matt, what I like about Matt is simply it's not just theoretical crap and like not understanding the human side of what's going on. The problem I have seen, and I think Matt, you saw that, and you've been around coaches that's been in your community where it's just keep pounding and there's no look to what the behavior is, why the behavior is, what the trigger is, what's going on in someone's life. And it's just tell what to do. It's so easy to coach by just telling somebody this is what you do, but that's not real. Like the real measurable coaching is like, we have a member, his name is Steven. He was a call center guy for a couple years. And he's like, man, I'm just miserable. I'm making 200 calls a day. I'm miserable. And he comes to us, right? And we have been able to move him out of the call center, running his own business, getting deals again, getting partnerships out. And he's making already like, oh my gosh, I'm making so much more money. I'm going to make way more money than I ever thought I would. If we just said, hey, pound the phone, just call the real estate agents. This is all you do. This guy would have debilitated. And at one point he actually was like, you know what? I may even go out of this business. But we're like, okay, let's talk about this. Like what's going on? Why don't you like the business? Oh, what if we fix that? Imagine if this happened. And then we're future forecasting. We're knowing those things, there's trigger. And now we're able to move them out of that. And so what I see is in the coaching ranks and is that out there, it's just do. And it's somebody that like you never had been a loan officer before you coached. But I feel like what separated you is that you were able to put that cap on, like, I'm a loan officer. Let me get behind the mask. Let me see what's going on. Rather than I saw the other ones it was egotistical and so boisterous that they felt I've got to just tell them what to do. I've got my person that's a leader is just, they're just telling me, I got to say this. It's easy. This is all you have to do. And it's like, well, if it was that easy, then why don't you make a lot more money than what you do and do it? It's so like, let's just hold the brakes and not be so almost judgmental towards a loan officer. That's what I enjoy about you is that you do get that and you understand that. And that's why I think you were successful coming and going into the ranks and able to do what you did, because you're already starting to look behind that mask.
Yeah.
And the behaviors and the triggers in a way. So that's what I really enjoy about you, Matt. And I think that you've really been, maybe you can speak to that, but I really think that's one of the biggest keys for you has been.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. What I always try to determine when I'm talking with somebody is why. So if you're sitting there and you're like you said, I'm tired of calling real estate agents. Well, why is that? Is it you don't know what to say, you don't know why you're calling, or the person that's on the other end of that phone call is one of those people you and I just went over and said they are draining your business and your happiness from what you're doing. Because I've had friends in the industry that are like, man, I don't know how much longer I can stay in this industry. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the best. Like I love this. But I mean, there's always, you've got to figure out the root cause. It's like when you go to a doctor and you're like, hey, my back hurts. Well, if they just prescribe you Advil or Tylenol, that doesn't help what's causing that pain. Yeah. You got to figure out what's causing it. Once you know what's causing it, then you can treat it and fix it and improve. So you got to know the why.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important in this business and what a lot of people miss out on.
Yeah. And I would assume that helps you in your sales.
Yeah.
With talking to real estate agents and financial planners and all that, the referral partners, I would say, because you're actually doing the same thing, right? Before you're diagnosing.
Oh, I don't.
Right before you're subscribing,
oh my gosh, one of my favorite things is when I talk with a buyer after they recently spoke with another lender. Yeah. I love that conversation because I talk with a buyer and I was like, hey, what's making you want to buy a house?
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean? I was just told I had to do 5% down on a 300,000 because of this and this. I was like, no, take all that back. Why do you want to buy a house? Are you buying it from an investment standpoint? Are you buying it because you are trying to just build wealth and not pay somebody's mortgage? Or are you buying it to move closer to your work because you're driving, you've got kids in school, that you got what's the reason why? So as you have those conversations with your buyers, your referral partners, you will find out that you will build a better relationship with them and you'll actually have a relationship with them. Yeah. If you think you have a relationship with everybody right now, go to any deal you closed last year, pick a random number, find that buyer and tell me what their favorite holiday is. Tell me anything about them on a personal level and see if you have a personal relationship with them. Yeah. Figure out why, it'll be so much easier.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I hope everybody listened up to that because you're so right. You want to close more deals and you want to have better quote unquote closing percentage. Then you better ask that why question. Yeah, you're absolutely right because it's like, what's your rate? Okay, I'm not going to just tell you my rate. Like, what's your goals for buying this house? How many years do you plan to be in this house? Oh, have you considered you can rent this out and buy another one later? So rate may not be the best option. The lowest rate may not be the best. They're going to move in 2 years. So well, then they're not getting closing costs. Perhaps we go up the rate sheet and give them all the big bulk of money back, so they don't have to come with that and actually came out and made money on it. So there's all these things. If we don't ask those questions and we just say, well, that's about 3.25 right now. It's like, it's not good enough. So,
I mean, that what you just said, that actually happened to me last night. I got referred some first-time home buyers on Friday. They called me last night. They submitted an offer and they are panicked. They're sitting there like, what, I'm about to put 5% down on a $300,000 purchase. And the total bill is like $21,000 with closing costs. They're like, we've only got X amount set up. This is a lot. We weren't expecting to do this. I was like, well, cool. How long do you plan to live in the house? They're like, probably about 2, maybe 3 years. I was like, cool. How about we take a little bit higher of an interest rate? Your monthly payment's going to jump up $27-28 a month on your principal and interest, but I can pay half your closing costs, or we can go up another 8. I can pay all your closing costs. They're like, so I'm just paying $15,000 for the down payment. I'm like, yeah. And if the house projects upwards over those next 3 years, here's how much you're going to make after you sell it. They went under contract. So sometimes it is the importance about having that conversation with them.
Great job, Matt. That's why you're one of the best, buddy. That's people don't ask that question. That's you again. We think everybody knows that to do that, or they are doing that. They're just not. So hopefully everybody got a lot of golden nuggets out of this. You should have re-listened to it because there's some real gold nuggets that Matt's through here. Matt, about to close out here. Any last words that you want to give to the audience? You want to talk? You want to promote yourself? I mean, whatever you want to do. You got the floor, brother.
Main thing I would suggest is, whether it's business or in life, whatever you want to focus on, fill the glass of water 100%. Don't do it at 10% and don't put it off till later. Focus on what's important to you.
Love it, Matt. Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming on here. You have been an absolute amazing guest, and looking forward to getting you on here again at some point and hearing more goodness and what else has transpired and how else you've conquered the world. So love it, man. Matt, been a true pleasure.
Likewise, Adam. Thank you.
Absolutely. You all know the drill. Limited risk equals limited income.